Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are kicking off a brand new series read-along. This time, we are doing a YA dystopian trilogy, starting with Legend by Marie Lu. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored in part by Amazon Music. Check it out. It has 70 million songs, thousands of playlists. You can listen without commercials. Sign up today and get your first month for free using the Shelf Addiction link. Go to getamazonmusic.com/shelf addiction and sign up today. Again, the code is Shelf Addiction. The link is also in the show notes. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official or joining us over on the Book Clubs app. Talk about the series with us as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. You can always find us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available right now on Patreon. Join us there where we get even more candid with podcast after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. You can also show your support by utilizing our sponsor offers. Go to shelfaddiction.com/support and see all of the current promotional offers. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. Welcome back to another fantasy series read-along, and today we are talking about the first book in our new trilogy, Legend. Joining me is my fantasy series read-along co-host, Casey from Heart Full of Ink. Welcome, Casey.
Hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here, as always.
Yes. Okay, we're going to give the stats and the synopsis as we do, and then we'll get started. Legend was published November 29th, 2011 by Putnam's Juvenile section, and the audiobook was published by Listening Library. The audiobook was narrated by Mariel Stern and Stephen Kaplan. The unabridged runtime is 7 hours and 48 minutes. The hardcover is 305 pages. Casey, please hit us up with the synopsis.
All right. Once known as the western coast of the United States, the Republic is now a nation perpetually at war with its neighbors, the colonies. Born into an elite family of one of the Republic's wealthiest districts, 15-year-old June is a military prodigy. Obedient, passionate, and committed to her country, she is being groomed for success in the Republic's highest circles. Born into the slums of the Republic's Lake Sector, 15-year-old Day is the country's most wanted criminal, but his motives may not be as malicious as they seem. From very different worlds, June and Day have no reason to cross paths until the day June's brother, Matthias, is murdered and Day becomes the prime suspect. Now, caught in the ultimate game of cat and mouse, Day is in a race for his family's survival while June tries desperately to avenge Matthias's death. But in a shocking turn of events, the two uncover the truth of what has really brought them together and the sinister lengths which their country will go to keep its secrets.
Okay. All right. So you guys, I have to mention, as I always do, if you're interested in today's after show, it's available right now on Patreon. Mm-hmm. So head on over after you finish listening. There'll be a timestamp available for you, and you can just watch us talk about whatever we talk about. So, all right. So let's do the thing. Okay. So my very first thought was, where's the fantasy in this?
It's dystopian, so it is, but
it's not
horrific. But we're living it right now.
Right.
Almost.
Okay.
So I
nitpick
really
about genre tags. I do. Mm-hmm. And when I look on Goodreads, this is most definitely dystopian. But young adult, dystopia, science fiction, fantasy, romance, fiction, adventure, teen. I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit with fantasy.
No,
Sci-fi,
I'm like,
very much dystopian.
Yeah, this
I
is
would
like
just straight
up
dystopian.
dystopian. Right.
Just straight dystopian.
Right. I'm like, so that bothers me a little bit when people do that. It's misleading because I was waiting for something
Magical or
or
fantastical. Yeah.
right, something like some tweak, right? But it never happened. And I think the book could have used a little tweak. I'm just saying. Could have used a little splash of something else to.
So
yeah.
I recommended this trilogy. I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize.
When it first came out 10 years ago. And I remember really enjoying it. And I always wanted to go back and read the rest of the trilogy, but I just never got around to it. And so I recommended it for the podcast. And rereading it, it was not a favorite. It wasn't terrible, but it was very, very close to reality that we're living right now, which, oof, it's kind of hard. But also the ages really hit differently for me now than it did 10 years ago.
Yeah, I need them to 15. I need them to be 5 to 6 years older. I need them to be 21, 22 years old.
I could have gotten away with 18. Like 18, maybe I can handle that. But yeah, no, 21, I want 22 older. Would have been better.
Yeah, because then they could actually maybe have some impromptu sex and it would be interesting. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Love.
Right.
There could be more reasons for the government to trust them. And, you know, he could be doing more than what a 15-year-old. Yeah.
Right.
The age was
and the author, she used the excuse or I guess the plot device of them being prodigies to be so smart and agile and top of the class and know everything. And
I can accept that like this much, but at the same time, yes, let's go send out a 15-year-old to go discover another 15-year-old. Sure, go. Yeah. I mean, at least they were the same age. That was good. Like if he was 18 and she was 15, that would be too squeaky and gross. And no, I'm glad that they were both the same age.
I know. Like, and when
this time period.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get a time jump after this. It would be great if we did, even a year or two. Like, let's say they're on the run and we're not picking up immediately. We pick up sometime later. I would love that, but who knows? I haven't even read the description for the next book yet. But I'm not even going to lie about it. When I read that there are 15-year-olds in the description, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know, but give it a go. We'll give it the college try. But and honestly, even though it was a short book, by standards, right? I felt like the beginning was very slow for me.
It was slow. It was a slow build. It was a slow start. There was a lot of flashbacks that kind of felt unnecessary in the moment, but I realized why she included them. Like when Matthias was 19 and skipping his graduation to be home with a sick June. Like, I understand why you included that scene, and I get it, but also, it was really boring in the moment. It didn't feel necessary in the moment.
Yeah. There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, y'all. Okay. So it took a long time for June and Day to meet each other. It was 40%.
Yeah.
50, 40. Yeah. So it took a while.
Less than, I think it was about 40%.
Yeah. We had to I guess, strongly establish them separately, doing what they're doing from opposite sides, getting the contrast between the two of them before we could throw them together. And I don't necessarily like the catalyst for that to happen, but it was important to the story. So, of course, we talk spoilers. Y'all know that. So the catalyst was Day was accused of killing June's brother, Matthias. And of course, they send this smart girl who was top of her class. She's top of her class. She's known for getting in trouble and doing things she's not supposed to be doing, because everything is not enough for her. She needs more, more, and more, because everything is bland and dry. So they send her on a mission to hunt down Day and bring him back or have him arrested. And, it's like, this is vengeance for you. Like, here's a present for you. Here, you go seek vengeance on your brother's behalf. And they send her off. Off she goes. Yep. With a mic or some kind of surveillance implant in her. Yes, she's like clicking her tooth, clicking her tongue to make it go on and off. Okay. Got it. But so that was like how she got out there in the world, because she's behind these walls where she lives in a really nice apartment. The author makes a note to point out how, things that she buys could be food for someone else for days or, so she's very well off, in the world.
There's a line in I think chapter 1 or chapter 2 or whatever, when we first see her, when they're in the car and they're driving past the homeless people, and she's like, could they not get so close to me? Even though, she's driving in a car away from them. And later on, she has some of those same thoughts while she's out on the streets. And then she thinks about her brother and how her brother was nicer to the poor. And she's like, yeah, he had a good heart. I should try to be more like him. So there was a lot of growth for her that I really appreciated.
Yeah, she did have that, because she changed. But to be fair, she was given a lot of information directly from her brother that helped her sway her opinion. So in general,
absolutely.
As she hung around Day and Tess, I think that she started to change a little bit on her own. But she wasn't really
ready to change all the way.
Right. Until she got the truth. And then all of a sudden she's a real about face, right? So before it was like she's playing with it, like she's getting near the line, she's like thinking about it, but then she's all the way over the line after that.
Yep.
Yeah. Which was good. I liked it. I liked her growth.
Good character growth.
Yeah. Although, what was that guy's name?
Thomas.
What was that one? What is it?
Thomas.
Yes. His character was so gross. I couldn't figure out.
Oh my God.
And I did not want to go back to figure it out. But how old was Thomas?
He was several years younger than Matthias. But still a lot older than June. So Matthias, her brother, is 12 years older. And several could be anywhere from 5 to 7 to 10, but probably not 10. I picture him as like a young 21, 22-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
It's still skeevy that he's hitting on this 15-year-old. And also, like, how is he so young and so high-ranked, but he's so murderous and gross?
He is gross. And she was only friends with him because, because of her brother, basically. But he was obviously wanting her and trying to manipulate her, and you could tell he was controlling as well. Like that one scene where he shows up in the middle of the night and he's like banging on her door, and she's like, I said I want to be left alone. I'm like, damn, girl.
That was so abusive and so creepy.
And she has to tell him multiple times to go away. I'm like, thank God she stuck to her guns. Because I'm like, is she going to cave and open that door? She didn't.
She would not be okay if she opened that door. Thank God she did not open that door. And then he shows up the next freaking night at midnight again. But she's gone. And he's all,
like, where were you? I'm like, get out my damn business. I'm like, my God. She is awful. He's awful.
He was the worst. And the fact that he listened in on her entire stay out on the streets with Tay, and then he heard the kiss. I'm like,
yeah, and he was jealous
he got
of
so
that.
Possessive, he had to beat up Day because he kissed her. And no, he was gross. He needs to die.
And June told him But he obviously didn't believe her. But she said, hey, so look, I didn't want to give away who I was. So I played along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fine. She didn't make a big
Mm-hmm.
deal of it. She didn't say, oh, I think
No.
I'm in love with this guy. She just said, yeah, it's whatever. It was a part of,
Because she turned him in like an hour after
Yeah.
the kiss
Yeah.
anyway.
So why are you so outraged and, jealous? That didn't make sense all the way, but okay.
No.
I'll roll with it. They needed another villain besides the government, I guess.
Well, they needed the immediate villain, the person who put the dagger in Matthias's heart. They needed the villain who, looks like the good guy and looks like somebody you can trust, the way the government is supposed to be the good guy and somebody you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
But he even got jealous when the president's son met June and kissed her hand. And Thomas was like, I didn't know he was going to be there. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, no. I don't care that he's here.
And it's funny because at first I thought it was going to be, oh God, is this another guy to be falling all over June? Like it seemed like there was something there. Maybe it will later.
I wouldn't put it past, later in the book or trilogy. Because he's young. He's what? He was 21 or 22 too?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was young.
Yeah.
He kissed her hand. There was eye contact. And yeah, every time she went to a party or the funeral, there were all these old men just like staring at her and staring at her boobs and staring at her face and calling her pretty. I'm like, she is 15. She is a child. You are a grown-ass adult. Please stop being a pedophile.
Yeah, that one old dude that was like sitting next to her at the he was so gross.
So gross.
Oh,
yeah. No. There are some nasty people in this government republic place. Like, ugh.
Yeah, it's just, I guess, increasing the reasons to not like the government, right? I guess ramping up even more why the government is bad. All the people.
Yep. It's full of pedophiles. It's full of murderers.
Yeah. And there was a lot going on. So between like the whole weird vibes surrounding June and like the sexual innuendos and the comments and the touches, we have people, being, given a virus on purpose. We have people being, I guess they're
murdered,
testing on them and then murdering them.
Children, again, 10-year-olds who are taking this test to prove your aptitude. And, according to the government, June was the only person who ever got a perfect score ever.
Yeah.
But then she hacks into whatever website and discovers that Day also got a perfect score, but they told him he failed. And they wrote a failing number on top of his test. And they sent him away to be studied and poked and prodded and then murdered.
Yeah.
When he was 10. And that's how he escaped the labor camps that they claim to send all the failures to.
Which there are no labor camps, we find out.
Nope.
It's just what they tell everyone. Yeah. So I don't know exactly why they're doing this yet. Like what is the motivation?
I was going to assume that it was some sort of like DNA testing, and they don't want any of the poor people to ever feel like they can get out of the poor house, so to speak. So when somebody does really well, they say, oh, no, you failed. Just like Day, he failed. And then they went and took, DNA samples. So maybe they're going to try and clone him. I don't know.
I thought, based on what June, her hypothesis was, like when they were messing around with his eyes, they were trying to figure out like a serum to improve the eyesight for the soldiers or something. And maybe trying to get something out of his knee to figure out some kind of serum for something else. I'm like, what? Oh my God. So not necessarily to disable the poor. They're using the virus for that, but they want the good stuff from, and they chose him like, okay, so he's really has all these positives. He did the best on the test, but he also shows the highest aptitude to probably rebel. So they're like, well, we can use him for testing instead. He can't be our golden boy, but we can test on him.
Yep.
But she obviously, I guess they didn't feel that in her. So she's like, the prodigy, the best.
Well, also she was, from the richest family and really high up. And if she suddenly disappeared, people would notice, people would freak out. Whereas when Day disappeared, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah. But then we got to think about Thomas.
His family can't go anywhere. They can't say anything.
Well, Thomas said he came from the poor side. He said he was.
He did.
So
Thomas came from a poor family. He did all right on his test. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty decent. I think it was, I don't know, close to a 1400, they said.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he met up with Matthias, because he did good enough for them to be like, okay, maybe you're worth something. And, they do want to keep some people around. And obviously, he's very good at following orders.
He's a good follower.
People.
Yes.
And so
he has zero chance of rebelling. And he's a psychopath, so he's perfect.
Yep. So he's perfect. They want him as their right-hand man to murder helpless mothers and injure generals and just, protesters. Shoot them all, pen them in. He was perfect for them.
Absolutely.
Whereas Day got shipped off and almost murdered himself. But anyway.
Yeah. So I guess that just goes to show that if you fit the categories they want you to, even if you're super poor, you can get through. You could have a different kind of life. But on the flip side, no matter how good you are, if they see you as a threat, if you're poor, they'll eliminate you.
Yep.
Two sides of the same coin kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, I thought I did have a big problem with like these grown ass adults letting, June just do all these crazy things like her mentor, the commander. Yeah. I'm like, what is this? Like, it's so... It's hard for me to swallow. It made no sense
that June was in charge of Day. She got to go give him water and command the soldiers around him. Like, I was rolling my eyes so hard during all of that. I mean, it's one thing to send her off out into the field to go capture him, because that's kind of like a suicide mission. And be like, yeah, no, child, go. Like, I don't care if you live or die. But to stand around and order the soldiers around and be like, leave him, go this way, go that way. Like, that made no sense.
No, it was like she just had free range to pretty much do what she wanted. Just because she captured him. Like, they had a big party and celebration because she did so well. And
I mean, I would celebrate that, but then send her off to do paperwork.
Something else.
To go sit in the corner, not put her in charge of all the soldiers who are probably 20s, maybe 30s, if not older. Like, Thomas is young and he is in charge of them, which is weird, but at least he was an adult at 21 or 22 or whatever we decided his age was. Like, she's 15 ordering these men around? No.
I mean, not only that, she got put in charge of his care basically until execution.
Yeah.
She, make sure he has one bottle of water a day and he can have one, so.
You could have put anybody in charge of that. Like, the lowly intern could have been put in charge of that.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't need to be your special prodigy child.
Right.
But if she wasn't in charge of it, we wouldn't have a book. So, I get it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe if they threw in a scene saying with June trying to convince the commander why she needed to be in charge. Maybe she could say she didn't have closure or she needed something else, or, you know what I mean? Like, maybe if she had swayed the commander to let her do it, maybe that would have been
a little better.
Yeah.
Because there was that one scene where she was interrogating him and asking about why he murdered her brother. She was beating him with her gun, her empty gun, so she wouldn't shoot him, but still like, no.
She's like, I'm not going to bring bullets because I don't want to kill anybody, but I will pistol whip him, though. I don't know. Like, okay, girl. Okay. I don't know. All right, y'all. Look, let's take a break. It's a good time for a break.
Okay.
We're going to check out these commercials. You guys hop on over to Amazon and check out the book review journal and the book review notebook, both available right now. And stay with us. We'll be right back to finish this conversation. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, guys, welcome back. So, more things. Okay, I gotta ask you, Casey, did you find any of your infamous plot holes?
Well, the age thing. The age thing was the plot hole that I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm just letting you go.
Mm-hmm.
The timeline, it's not quite a plot hole, but it's the timeline. So when Thomas accused June of stealing the bomb, he waited until 5 minutes before the execution, even though he kind of discovered it the night before, and then he was with her at 8:00 in the morning at the movies. He could have accused her at any time before or after the movie, literally any time during the day. He waited until like 5 minutes before the execution. Right. And that didn't feel realistic for Thomas or the commander or anybody. Like, I know she probably wrote it that way because you needed all of the action happening at once.
Right.
But it just...
I mean, it's something that serious. Something that serious, I can imagine her waking up that morning to bangs on the door, like, we're apprehending you for questioning.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Let's go to the movies. Let's hang out.
Right.
Let's be sweet and romantic together all day. And oops, now that it's time for this execution that you've been, looking forward to, air quotes, let me apprehend you and take you down to the base. Like, it just didn't fit. That was shoving two separate puzzle pieces together.
Yeah.
The fact that Matthias's photos of his wound weren't showing the second wound, and they're all done at an angle, and it was just like, is everybody on the payroll? Is everybody invested in killing him off? Like, everybody from the commander down to the lowly crime photographer? Like, right. There was just a lot that, just worked for the sake of working.
It was kind of heavy-handed at times, I think.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily plot holes, but just like, okay, you're just telling me this is how this works. And even the pipes with all of the virus stuff. How the fuck were they able to put the pipes under the houses without anybody noticing?
I don't know.
Or was it all there before? Like, was it a sewer system? But it didn't feel like a sewer system. It felt like it was kind of new and, barely under the dirt of the house. Like, it was right there. And I was like, are you sure?
I know.
But there's just a lot of stuff like that where I was like, are you
It's kind of clunky. I mean, but okay.
Yeah.
we'll just
doesn't
roll
really
with it.
work.
But
okay.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. These two 15-year-olds are like the best of the country at everything. Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll
Mm-hmm.
go with it.
Mm-hmm.
She can
Mm-hmm.
climb a building in 4 minutes and 54 seconds. Okay, sure. What is she climbing with her fingernails? Like,
Right.
he broke into a bank vault in 10 seconds. Okay, sure. Sure. Let's just roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He jumped out of a 3-story building and didn't break his ankles. Okay, sure. At
He
least
did have
he's
some injuries,
living.
but
He did
yeah.
have some injuries, but I was like, he should have broken his ankles.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that would have lengthened the book if some of those things could have been addressed and flushed out a little bit more. That could
I'm
have made the book a
hoping
little
some
longer.
of them will be addressed in the next book or the third book, because what else are they going to do? Like, now that they've discovered that the government is, making everybody sick, they're going to want to find the pipes. They're going to want to follow that. They're going to, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not sure I like where it's going, to be honest. Okay, so I say that because like there was one line or one little segment where she was reading, Matthias's like online journal thing or whatever. And he says, if you're going to fight back from within,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm like, wow, that's great advice. And I'm thinking, well, maybe she'll try to stick around and do the fighting from inside. But I'm like, no, it looks like she's going to try to rescue them. And when that happens, she's outed, right? There's no way she can go back. And I feel like it would have been more intrigue, if she were still in there. It would
have been interesting if she could fight from the inside. Yes.
Yeah.
But with Thomas, with the commander, with everybody watching her, there really wouldn't have been much she could do unless, she decided to go kill the president at a party. But I don't think she's that violent yet. So, no. If Matthias was still alive and they could fight together, that would have been one thing. But now that he is dead, now that she's, again, a 15-year-old child fighting against the government.
Yeah.
I do think she and Day will make more damage on the outside rather than inside. But it would have been interesting to see her fight from the inside.
I mean, because now the next book, I'm making a lot of assumptions here, guys, but I can just imagine them, jumping trains and doing all kind of crazy stuff to get to wherever they want to go, seeking out Tess to see if she's okay. Like, who cares about that? Like, she was a minor character that was somewhat important, to Day's character. But do you need to go check on her? She's fine. Like, I'd rather her show up in a different capacity somewhere later than them go look for her and see if she's okay. And I'm like, you guys are fugitives. And it just seems stupid. I'm like, I just imagine that and them like being goo eyes over each other as they hop trains.
Of course they're gonna be.
Of
course they're gonna be. They're 15.
Make the trek from LA to Vegas or some shit. I don't know.
That's where they're headed. Yeah.
I'm like, I just see this being that. I hope not. But like I said, I am taking some liberties with that. I don't know what's actually going to happen. So
yeah, I never read it, so I don't know what happens. And rereading this one, I had forgotten everything, including the fact that they were 15. I knew they were teenagers because I knew it was YA, but I forgot that they were 15, even though it's right there in the blurb. I just, nope. So reading it felt like reading it for the first time because I was like, I don't know what happens. Oh, her brother dies? Oops, forgot that happened.
Right. Like, that's how I was reading the last series. I'm like, oh, I forgot that. I forgot that too. And that too. But, yeah, I know I sound like I'm kind of down on it, but I'm not going to say don't read it. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say that.
It's a decent book.
Yeah, I guess decent would fit. The cat, I guess decent would work.
I don't want to get political, But this kind of feels like what the QAnon thinks our current world is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm reading it and I'm like, I'm enjoying it, but also, oh my God, this is reality. Please stop. Can we go back to happy days when it was, the angels versus the demons fighting for 7 souls?
I know.
And that was fun and enjoyable. This is stressing me out.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It did feel, but that's the thing with dystopia stuff. It's like so much of it. It's like because we just repeat shit over and over again in the real world. Mm-hmm. So we are notorious for that. So every time you read something in this genre, it kind of has vibes of things, ties. Like if you thought about it, that kind of seems like this. And in 2011, you probably could say, this sure sounds like whatever's going on right now in 2011.
In 2011, we didn't have COVID, but yes, like it was kind of.
But then there was swine flu and then H1N1 and so it's like there's always something and some crazies are always like the government's trying to kill us. People are always ranting that shit. So it's like and numerous other things like flu vaccinations that people don't want to get and everything else. It's like, well, we're on repeat, y'all. We on repeat.
We are.
And it's hyped up a little bit more every time, though.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because social media keeps growing and, conspiracy theories grow just as fast. And it's, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Let's not get political. Let's get out of this conversation.
No, but that's what dystopia is. And I guess we probably could have just considered that before picking it, like dystopia in this time. But
I wasn't thinking. Yeah. I forgot everything. So as soon as the virus came up, I went, oh my God, no.
Yeah.
It's like I'm living in the QAnon world.
Mm-hmm. But this falls right in that, I guess, place of the Hunger Games and Divergent and all of those, I think, popular titles that actually got made into movies. This one didn't.
It will.
Will it?
Yeah. Remember when we were talking in our last podcast, this one's been optioned for TV. And it's been optioned a couple times, but the article we were reading was November 2021.
That's right.
It's been optioned for TV. But they've already said that they're going to make Day and June older. I think they're making them 18 in the TV show. Thank God.
That's right.
Yeah, I can sit with 18. A little older would be nicer, but I can sit with 18. That makes it a little bit better.
Okay, so when this comes out, y'all, we're gonna talk about it.
A couple of years.
Yeah, it'll probably, if I can remember. I will not be the one to go back and reread this in preparation, but I'll watch it and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember or I don't remember.
We'll just have to listen to this conversation and be like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see how they're going to handle the whole, because you remember the scene where they talk about kind of how Day got that coin that's covered. His parents found a U.S. States quarter, a United States quarter.
1990.
From 1990. And they said that, I guess it seems like they're saying the United States didn't exist at that time or something. It's
well, okay, so the Republic has convinced everybody that the Republic and the colonies were never together. They've always been separate. They've always been fighting. There's always been this great divide between them. It was never the United States of America. But when he finds this quarter from 1990 and it says the United States, they're like, oh,
it proves it. It's proof.
That we once were all together. It wasn't just the colonies versus the Republic. It was, America versus the world or whatever.
Yeah, so I wonder how that's going to work.
They've been this way for several decades. They've been brainwashed. History has been erased.
And Day now has this coin on a necklace.
But it's covered. And I don't know if he can ever uncover it.
I don't know.
I found it really weird that June's proof that she knew he was gay was because he went to go grab the thing around his neck, but it wasn't there. It was in her pocket. And I was like, okay, as a person, I will touch my neck all the time. I just, weird habit. I just pull on the collar of my shirt. Like, it's not this whole big thing where I'm like, oh, my necklace that I don't have. I want to touch it, but it's not here. And she's like, that's my proof, is that he went to go touch the necklace that he doesn't have anymore. And I was like, really?
And to be fair, that necklace could have been anything because...
Really could have.
Yeah. Sometimes, I don't wear the same necklace every day. I switch it up, but I know I'm also not really poor and running for my life. So there's a difference. But that's a big jump to assume that is the same necklace that he could or could not be reaching for. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, again, it was a, really? You're going to say this? Okay, I guess it fits. But, and, she followed to his family's house and saw that his family was sick. But still, like, it never felt like enough proof. It didn't feel like actual proof. It felt like she was just the hurt 15-year-old girl jumping to conclusions. And she just so happened to be right.
Yeah.
It would have been hilarious if she was wrong. But
like, you ruined someone's life and it wasn't even the right person. What an idiot.
Yeah. But no, it's a short story in the sense that it's only 300 pages long. And, it felt really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hardback book printed in 2011. And when they changed chapters, they actually changed font and color.
Oh, really?
So hers is black and I think Times New Roman or something like that. And his is like a sepia color. And it looks, I don't know what font that is. Let me see if they have it up front. But it's a different font. It's a different color. It's interesting. Like, you really know you're in a different point of view.
How did it feel reading a different color ink like that?
It felt weird at first, but then I got used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, like, that was interesting. I don't know any other books that change color and font.
So I wonder why they decided, if the publisher did that or the author did that. Like, what's the reason for it?
It was definitely the publisher because they're the ones paying the printing fees.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they just wanted to be special. I don't know.
Meh. I mean, I feel like the characters were different enough, and they had a header at the top, so it says June
header.
Day. So
it's not first person, right? No, it was first person. Never mind. I thought it was third person. Oh, God. I've pushed it out already. I'm never going to remember this book.
Yeah,
it was
probably
cute,
won't.
but it just...
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it was cute. Like, I mean, I'm interested, right? I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I'm not like, I gotta read the second book. It's not that bad. But I'm definitely at this point today, right now, I'm not a fan. It's fine, quote unquote.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah. Like, oh, actually, I'm really curious. I'm about to look at the next book now and see what it says.
I read this 10 years ago and I was a lot closer to 15. So it probably felt authentic or realistic to my much younger brain. Where I was like, yeah, 15-year-olds can definitely do this. And now I'm like, nope.
I mean, to be honest, all the dystopia YA books have teens doing shit they have no business doing. So,
yes. I mean, with the Hunger Games, I only read the first book. I haven't finished the trilogy. Mm-hmm. But, she was put in that game as a teenager, and they were all teenagers. It wasn't, oh, I'm this teenager fighting with adults. It's, no, you're all teenagers fighting each other.
Right.
So in that sense, like, that was authentic to the story because she was supposed to be a teen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, let's find this 15-year-old and put her on our special case. And, let's put her in charge of our number one enemy. Let's put this 15-year-old in charge of all of our soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was just...
Okay, y'all. I took a quick peek at Prodigy, which is book 2.
Uh-huh.
Only 7 days pass. Only 7 days.
No.
7 days since June and Day barely escaped.
Tiny time jump.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're going to the Patriots, as we knew they were at the end of that book.
Mm-hmm.
Can they trust them, or have they unwittingly become pawns in the most terrifying of political games? Dun, dun, dun.
Definitely pawns.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so now I kind of know. I know what I'm going to get. I feel like I know what I'm going to get here, so we'll see. The ratings are still high, though. People like it, but I don't know if they're mostly... I wish we could see... I wish they would just give me a little bit more analytics, like Goodreads. Tell me... Of the 4.25, yes. Tell me how many of the people were 18 and under, or 18 to 25, or...
Probably a lot of them. Like, it's a well-written book. And I did enjoy... I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Unlike that other trilogy we read, where I had my favorite plot hole segment, because that one was bad.
Yeah.
I would definitely rank Legend above the Grisha trilogy, because that one was bad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call it just yet. I gotta wait for book 2 before I'm ready to say that. I gotta say.
I'll say that right now. I prefer Legend over Grisha, because yeah. It is Grisha, right? I think so. Whatever that trilogy was.
I like the spin-off. I like the spin-off that we read better. And y'all, we reviewed that over on Patreon. It was a Patreon exclusive. Because we were prepping for the show Shadow and Bone.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. It's all meh. Those books were meh. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, people still liked it. These ratings are 4.25 average for the second book. So people were still enjoying it. And it's, again, I think this one also, let me just look at the book details, 371 pages. So it's a little bit longer.
Okay. That's not bad at all.
No. So yeah, I don't know. And I did listen on audiobook, you guys. It was 2 narrators. The narrators were good. I think I enjoyed the male narrator better than the female narrator. So Stephen Kaplan, I liked his voice. Marielle Stern, she was fine. I think it took me a little while to get used to her voice. I don't know if it sounded more childlike than what I would prefer. Maybe that was it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in the YA zone anymore, because it comes in peaks, it comes and goes.
Yeah, it comes and goes, and there are some good YA books that don't feel YA. This one definitely felt YA because they were 15, and I'm not gonna stop saying that. If they were a little older, I would have liked this book a lot more. Yeah, I agree, because there's so much more they could have done. Like, could have gotten a little bit more. And this is me coming off of reading a very violent book. I reviewed it on the podcast earlier this month. So I'm coming off of reading some very adult situations, very adult writing. So I think if they were older, we maybe could have gotten that death scene of Matthias. We could have gotten that. That could have been interesting. There was fighting and he ran off. But I wanted, something else. We could have gotten, I don't know, just more of everything. Bigger, bolder, louder, everything. Yes. It was kind of muted. That's what I would say. The whole book was kind of muted. So it was a little muted, and it felt a little off, again, because they're 15 and they were put in these very adult situations, but they felt like children. And so And sometimes that was for the creep factor, like with all the older government men. And sometimes it was, she's just in charge of all these soldiers. And I'm like, how? Why? What? No.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Like, why did that even need to be added? Like, why did that creepy, factor need to be added about the old guy's comp? Like, there was nothing going on, right? And I wondered, like, well, did he molest some people? Like, what happened? Like, obviously Matthias quit him. He quit his team. I'm like, but why? And, we find out later why, but it had nothing to do with what I originally thought was why, because of that scene. And I'm like, it was like, no, it went nowhere. So there was no point of it. He could have been like a mean old man versus a gross old man.
I think, like what we said earlier, it was just to show that the government is bad and she has nobody she can trust. She has nobody she can turn to. Like, if he had been a nicer, older man, she may have gone to him for advice and been like, hey, Thomas is being abusive and knocking on my door at midnight. Can you help me? I'm an orphan. I have nobody. But she couldn't turn to him. Like, she couldn't turn to anybody. And so that kind of makes sense. But
I guess
I don't know. It
weird. Is what it is. Okay, you guys, I think we've pretty much come to the end of this discussion. What do you think, Casey?
I think so. I think we've hit all of the notes.
Yeah. You guys, if you've read Legend, please let us know. Come into the Shelf Addiction Book Club, either on Book Club's app or on Facebook. And you can find links for that in the show notes. Come and talk to us about it. Let us know what you thought. Or leave a comment on any of the platforms. Let us know if you agree or disagree and why.
Yeah.
And we didn't rate it, though. Let's rate it right quick. Yes. Look, I'm ready to get out of here and move on. And we didn't even rate it. So rewind a couple of steps. Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, I'll rate Legend a 3 out of 5. It's because it was quote unquote fine, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's meh. I'm hoping I'll get more in the next book. So that's where it stands with me. What about you, Casey?
So I would, if I could give it a half star, I'd rate it 3.5 because I feel like it's a little bit stronger, but it's still very meh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I liked it a lot better than the Grosha trilogy, but I wouldn't, really recommend this to people unless they're 15. If they were 15, like I would absolutely recommend this to teenagers. But as a good YA dystopian series to recommend to adults, not at the top of my list.
You're right.
It's well written and I enjoy it, but there are some things where, or there are a lot of things where I'm like, really, you're doing this? This is what's happening? Really?
I mean, yeah.
And so I rated it like a strong 3, but still a 3.
Okay. You nailed it, though. I think I would recommend this to like my niece that's like 14. Like she's like she's in her 8th grade year. So she'll be in high school.
No, I think she would really enjoy this.
She would like it, but
she wouldn't question the stuff that we question. She would miss the stuff that we miss. And I would absolutely recommend this to teenagers as a really good book for them to read and enjoy.
Yeah.
But I would not recommend this to adults. Unless they absolutely want it. And then I'd be like, well, okay, here's this YA dystopian, but they're 15. So
I know. Read
at your own risk.
I know. Well, I hope you guys stick around with us. I know we just kind of went in a little bit on our recommendation, but if you're on this 3-book journey with us, hope you stay on it with us. I mean, it's only 3 books total. There's 2 more to go, and then we'll move on to something else. Adults, we'll find something adult next.
Yes.
So like I said, join us in the groups, chat with us about it. Head on over to Patreon, check out the after show, all that good stuff. We appreciate you for listening to the full episode. If you are still here right now, thank you.
Yes. We love you.
Yes, we do. And we'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye, guys.
Happy reading, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.